Hello, this is Keenan Park, and this is YLOC 7th grade worksheet lesson 5. For our first word problem, it says, there are 120 students in the 7th grade, and 40% of them are boys. How many boys are there in the 7th grade? So to find this out, 40% of them are boys means that we should multiply the total number, which is 120, by 40%. And this multiplication is the same as 120 times 0.4 because 40% is the same as 0.4. And then to solve this, one way you could do it is you could separate 0.4, this is the way I like to do it, into 4 and 0.1. So 120 times 4 times 0.1, and then 120 times 0.1 if you reorder them, because multiplication is commutative and associative. 120 times 0.1 equals 12, because 0.1 is 1/10, so you just move the decimal place to the left. So you get 12 times 4, which equals 48. Another way you could do it is you could say that 0.4 is the same as 2/5. And then 2/5 times 120, 2 times 120 is 240, and if you divide that by 5, you'll also get 48. So your answer will be 48. And then next we're going to calculate 25% of 72. Anytime you see percent of something, you're going to be most likely multiplying the percentage and the total. So 72 times 25%. 25% is the same as 0.25, and 0.25 is also the same as 1/4. You get that because 25% is 25 over 100. That's what percent means. It's over 100 per 100. Cent means 100, like centimeter. There are 100 centimeters in a meter. So 25 over 100, and then that simplifies to 1/4. And 72 times 1/4 is the same as 72 divided by 4, and that equals 18. So we have a final answer of 18. Next, we have 8 kilograms of apples cost $20. So how much do 6 kilograms of apples cost? So we want to find the price per 6 kilograms. So how many dollars, and we'll represent that unknown with X. How many dollars for each 6 kilograms? That's why I have this division. It's like division represents for each or per, so dollars per 6 kilograms. And we know that there are $20 per 8 kilograms. So we get that this equation should be true. Of course, assuming that the apple costs don't change, but that is an assumption that is fair to make. And then we can simply cross multiply. And for simplicity, I'll just ignore all the units. And then we multiply 8 times x equals x, 8x. And then 6 times 20 equals 120. And then you divide both sides by 8. And you get x equals 120 divided by 8. That's 15. So you're going to get $15. Next, 6 workers finish a project in 16 days. How many days do 4 workers need to finish the same project? So if there's 6 workers and it takes 16 days, you can think of it as 6 workers and then times 16 days gives you 96 man hours. Or man days, I guess. So 96 days of working. So if I was just to have one worker be working, it will take them 96 days. So if I have 4 workers, how many days would that take them? I'll put another X. And this will also, because it's the same amount of work, it's the same project, this is also 96 man days. And then once again, the units, I'm just going to ignore all of these. And you get 4x equals 96. You divide both sides by 4 and you get x equals 19. Oh, sorry. X equals 24. I'll make that a little neater. So it'll take them 24 days. And one thing you can note is that because the number of workers, this over here, you're multiplying by 2 over 3. So that means the number of days, in order to compensate, because they should multiply to the same thing, that means they're inversely proportional. So this should be a multiple of, or multiply by 3 over 2. And we can see that's true. So this relationship holds because these two, the amount of workers and the number of days, they're inversely proportional, given that the amount of work they're doing is the same. And then Haiti buys this shirt for $20 and resells for $24. So what is the percentage of Haiti's markup? So to find the percentage of the markup, you get the old price, or sorry, the price she sold it for. You subtract the price she bought it for, because profit is the amount of money you earn on top, like after expenses are factored in, and then you divide it by the original price, which was $20. And so this gives you 4 over 20, and if you want to convert it to percent, you can multiply the top and the bottom by 5 to get 20 over 100, which is 20%. I'll skip this problem and then move on to this one. A set of dishes is marked down 30% off the original price, and the sale price is $19.60. So what is the original price, or what was the original price? So if you mark down something, originally it costs 100%. And then if you subtract 30%, you end up with 70%. So right now, 1960 is 70%. So 1960 equals 70% of our original price. Our original price will be X here. And so what we can do is we can divide both sides by 70% to solve. So now X equals 1960 over 70%. I'm going to write it as over 0.7 or 0.70, which is the same thing. And then we'll divide. So 19.6 divided by 0.7. We could just do long division, I suppose. And so 7 fits here twice. And then you subtract 14, you get 56. 56, 7 fits in 56 8 times. And then that fits perfectly. So you end up with 28. So the original price is $28. And then now we're going to be comparing numbers. So we're going to be seeing which one is greater, and we can use a number line for this. So 0 and 7. You start with 0, and then if you move to the right 7 places, you get 7, and the number that's more to the right is the greater number. So 7 is greater. -2 and -3. These are negative numbers, so it's easy to get a little bit confused. -2 is 2 spaces left of 0. And -3 is 3 spaces left, so another step. And you can see -2 is greater because it's to the right of -3. And these are pretty easy, so I won't go too in depth. -1 should be bigger, 0 should be bigger than -4, 5 should be bigger than -2, and 3 should be bigger than -13. Negative numbers are always going to be smaller than positive numbers. And then for a given value of a, find -a and the absolute value of a. So the absolute value of a is the distance from 0 of that number. So if I had a here, the absolute value is this distance, and this distance is also going to be a. But the important thing is, if I have a -a here, then this distance will still be a, because distance is going to be positive. It's always going to be positive. And -a is, well, not necessarily always going to be positive. So if a equals 6, then -a equals -6. But the absolute value of a is going to just equal 6. because the distance from 6 to 0 is 6. And so an important thing is the absolute value of a, its value equals a if a is greater than or equal to 0. So if a is not negative, it'll just equal a. However, it'll equal negative a if a is less than 0. And so because a is a negative number, this condition requires that a is a negative number. A negative times this negative will make it a positive number again. So this absolute value will always be positive. 13.6, negative a equals negative 13.6. Very simple. And then like I said, it's always going to be, if it's positive, it's just going to be the same number. So the absolute value of a equals 13.6. A equals negative 1 and 1/9. So negative a equals just 1 and 1/9. No negative, because the negative cancels out. And the absolute value, it's also going to equal 1 and 1/9. And then it's pretty straightforward. Negative a equals negative 3, which is positive 3. And the absolute value of a is just the positive version of what a is. Negative a equals negative 2.7. And then absolute value of a equals 2.7. And so that's all for today's worksheet. So thank you for listening.